To begin this power-packed day, I would like to welcome on stage Ms. Priya Choudhary, who is the Director, Omnichannel Businesses, Google India, for an exclusive industry keynote address on maximizing profits. Please put your hands together for the gorgeous woman.
Am I audible? Is this good? All right. So good morning, everyone, and I'm so delighted to be in the middle of this esteemed company today. I work with Google, and I lead business solutions for Google, so just a small correction there. Today, I'm going to talk about maximizing profits. Now, this is obviously an end goal for any business, big or small. In today's world, it's even more prominent. And what I'm going to talk about today is a few case studies, some of which are externally shareable, and how do we look at profitability in this new world. Now, typically, when we look at maximizing profits, with margins under pressure, most businesses start laying emphasis on short-term metrics of profits. And typically, what are short-term metrics of looking at profitability? Things like customer acquisition costs, like really, 6 to 12 month sort of deliverables. Now, with focus on things like immediate transactions, most of the marketing strategies also then start evolving around optimizing for these short-term metrics, like customer acquisition costs, and acquiring customers in the short term. However, for any business to be profitable in the long term, the metrics of long-term profitability, like customer lifetime value, can no longer be ignored. And we worked with many businesses. And the question that we ask, and I currently work with Google, but I worked with many companies for a long time, even when I was a part of Group M before I joined Google. And this was a question we used to ask almost all our partners, which is, they understand it, right? All of us understand it instinctively, but why do we look at short-term metrics? Why don't we optimize towards long-term? And the answer is actually seeped into this perception of risk. I think most of us feel there are basic questions which come out of human nature, right? What if the automation models are not right? What if the first-party data that I have is not a reflection of my true consumer? And this perception of risk actually is something that brands need to avoid, and this temptation brand needs to get away from. Because what happens is when there is this small short-term perception of, this perception of risk which optimizes towards short-term profits, even when you look at metrics like customer lifetime value, typically we start truncating looking at customer lifetime value for a short-term period of 6 months or 12 months, and that really defeats the purpose of looking at long-term metrics like lifetime value. And beyond acquisition costs, actually, profitability is also seeped into loyalty and engagement. And I'll take you through a couple of case studies to talk about how some of our customers looked at profitability in a different way, and how tech today, and Google Tech, and many other tech platforms available today are able to help you with your first-party data to build on top of that, build automated models which are aided by machine learning and automation today to be able to create more profitability for businesses. Let me start with a quick experiment. I think it's also a very quiet audience right now. So why don't you unlock all your phones and tell me, what do you see on your screen as you unlock, any one of you? You see apps, right? What kind of apps? Can you name a few? Sorry? Right. So yeah, I think some of you did talk about the apps that you see. But I think the point that I'm trying to make is that the apps that you use most often, that are most valuable to you, take the prime real estate on your screen, which is basically your home page, right? That's true for your customers as well. In fact, we believe that 98% of app users who rate an app highly are also most likely to become long-term customers of the brand. Keeping this lifetime value in mind, I think the real question is, can we design marketing strategies that are tailored to acquire these long-term customers and at the same time meet the internal pressures of quicker returns? Now, we have some ideas, and of course, we have some products that can help. Let me share an example of what one of our customers did. So this is ICICI Lombard. I think most of you would be familiar with the brand. It's a well-known brand. Now, they wanted to maximize their profits by maximizing the value of all the online data they collect and offline data that's available through their CRMs to drive high-quality leads. Now, what do we mean by high-quality leads? These are typically leads that convert, that have the highest likelihood of converting into sales. Now, what they did was they deployed the full stack of solutions. That is typically Google Ads, combined with what we call Google Analytics. Again, most of you are familiar with it, cloud, and their own CRM data. And then we built machine learning models with them to identify what we call the lead-to-sale propensity ratio. And we almost gave lead-to-sale propensity scores for all these data points that existed in their online and offline data. Now, what is interesting and where it gets interesting is these scores were then passed on in real time into Google Ads to be able to bid on the users that were most likely to convert. And hence, by automating their search strategy, ICICI Lombard was able to deliver 3 times higher ROAS, 50% lower cost per sale, and 17% higher quote-to-sale ratio. Amongst all the advertisers that we work with, this is a shining example of how brands can leverage digital and automation built on top of the first-party data that already exists with most of the brands to drive high-quality leads and unlock customer lifetime value and profitability. But that's not all, right? That's not the only way to become profitable. Now, when you think about it, every brand has many customers, many consumers. Now, not all consumers spend the same amount of time. Not all consumers are advocates of a brand. Right? So typically, any consumer who's loyal, who spends time in engaging with the brand, who spends time in advocating a brand would be more valuable than the others. And the flip side of this is there are also many people who come onto the platform but then churn out. So one of the ways to build profitability is also to identify and nurture customers who have the highest likelihood of churning out and using actually the marketing spends to be able to stop that churn. Now, I did talk a little bit about first-party data, and we believe that first-party data is the most critical enabler for driving profitability. Now, the primary source of this data is obviously your company's data or wherever you collect your data from. It has to be of high quality. That goes without saying. But typically, it's biased because it's based on the type of customers that you're used to talking to for a long time. So it's important to be able to put aside a part of the marketing budget to engage with new type of customers for long-term growth. And there are examples of Google Tech, for example, which works best on this high-quality first-party data to be able to consolidate signals from various platforms that we have today, like YouTube, like Google Search, like Display, to identify patterns of customers that are most likely to remain loyal. Now, again, let me bring this alive with an example of one of our other customers, which is Woot. Now, what did Woot do? First of all, Woot leveraged this huge first-party data. They had almost 10 billion data points using BigQuery. And they looked through viewership patterns of these data points that were available for them. They, again, worked with us to build a prediction model to identify audiences that were most likely to leave their platform, which is churn out of their platform. Now, looking at patterns of content that were consumed by similar audiences, they then chose to show specific shows to recommend to each subscriber that was most likely to churn out. And then on top of that, I'm sure some of you are familiar with Ads Data Hub. They ported all that data on Ads Data Hub and consolidated their own Google campaign data as well as first-party data to measure the effectiveness of campaigns, which is what happened after they did that experiment. What is really heartening to note is that in the experiment, the group that received personalized recommendations, there were 35% fewer cancellations than the control group. And hence with data driving this kind of churn predictability model that Woot was able to build, they now use their remarketing budgets really effectively in going after only these customers which require an extra nudge. So again, another example of how you could look at profitability different and acquiring most profitable customers which we spoke about in the first case. And second, how can you use your budgets most effectively to actually prevent your consumers who have already been acquired, where you've already spent considerable amount of time in acquiring those, to stop them from churning out of your platform by giving them more personalized and relevant recommendations. Now, the best practice in today's modern day marketing is to focus on overall business goals, and then let our automated solutions serve the best possible ad for each query, and at the bit that is most likely to result into the outcome that you're looking for. You must have heard of many automated solutions that exist today. Performance Max, for example, on Google is one of the shining examples of how just by automation and giving your outcomes and desired outcomes as an input, you're able to actually drive the output significantly better than anything else that exists currently as solutions. That comes to the end of what I had to say, but just to sum it up, maximizing profits is best achieved by ensuring that we reach the highest value consumers, and then a critical enabler of all of this is first-party data. Typically, the journey starts with identifying the different consumer touchpoints, capturing the right conversion value data, and then optimizing that value for the most high-value transactions. Today, that is possible through your high-quality first-party data and building automated solutions on top of that. Brands that make use of their first-party data and layer it with intelligent ML and AI models can drive the most conversions and hence drive profitability. Thank you so much.